Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome. Tonight, March 18th, we have a new moon at 28 degrees Pisces. And if you're a Pisces, a Cancer, or a Scorpio, this one is speaking directly to your chart. I'm going to show you exactly why and exactly what it means for each of you before we're done. And even if those aren't your signs, stay with me because this new moon is planting a seed somewhere in your chart too, and I'll tell you where. Now here's what makes tonight unusual. It's not just a new moon. Right now, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars, and the North Node are all gathered in Pisces at the same time. That's 5 celestial bodies in one sign. Astrologers call that a stellium, and it concentrates all of that energy into a single area of your life. And this one falls at 28 degrees, the second to last degree of the entire zodiac. Pisces is the final sign. This is the final new moon before the astrological new year begins on March 20th. So what we're standing in tonight isn't just a monthly reset. It's the last breath before a whole new cycle starts, and that changes how we work with it. Let me walk you through what's converging right now, because it's not just this stellium. There are several major transits stacking on top of each other this week, and I think once you see them together, you'll understand why this particular new moon carries so much weight. First, the eclipse portal is closing. On February 17th, we had a solar eclipse in Aquarius. On March 3rd, a total lunar eclipse in Virgo. Those two eclipses created what astrologers call an eclipse corridor, a window where change accelerates, where things get shaken loose, where the universe sometimes removes things from our lives before we feel ready to let go. This new moon tonight is the first lunation since that corridor opened that is not an eclipse. It closes the door. This new moon is the door closing behind you. The eclipses shook things loose, and you've been standing in the draft for a month. Tonight, the door shuts, and for the first time since February, you can feel the stillness. If something ended or changed or fell away during that window, and you're still catching your breath, the eclipses did that. And I'm sorry, but tonight is when that chapter closes, and a new one becomes possible. Second Mercury has been retrograde in Pisces since February 26th. If your thinking has felt foggy, if old memories have been surfacing at strange moments, if communication has been tangled or confusing, Mercury retrograde in Pisces will do exactly that. It stations direct on March 20th. 2 days from tonight, the fog is about to lift. Third, and this is what gives tonight's chart real historical weight, Saturn and Neptune recently formed their conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. This is a once in 3-6 year alignment. The last time Saturn and Neptune began a new cycle together was 1989 in Capricorn. If you're old enough to remember that year, and I know many of you are, think about what was happening in your life then. What were you building? What were you beginning? What choices were you making that shaped the next 3 decades? Because whatever cycle started for you in 1989 is reaching its completion now, and a new one is beginning. That's not small. That's an entire chapter of your life coming full circle. And there's one more piece I want you to see. This new moon is forming a sextile to Uranus in the final degrees of Taurus. Uranus is the planet of sudden shifts, of breakthroughs that arrive without warning, of changes you didn't plan and couldn't have predicted. That sextile is a large part of why this fresh start feels like something arriving on its own terms, not yours. It's also sextile Pluto in early Aquarius, which brings deep transformative energy into the picture. This is a new moon that is supported by the 2 most powerful agents of change in astrology, Uranus and Pluto, both in harmonious aspect. That's rare, and it matters. I should also mention that Venus at 15 degrees Aries is squaring Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer tonight. That adds an emotional intensity to the evening big feelings, a pull toward generosity that could tip into overextending yourself. Be aware of that. It's part of the weather tonight. So when you stack all of this together, the Pisces stellium, the eclipse portal closing, Mercury about to go direct, the astrological new year arriving in 48 hours, a once in 3-6-year Saturn-Neptune cycle completing, and harmonious aspects to both Uranus and Pluto tonight is genuinely one of the most concentrated reset points we've had in years. I'm not saying that for drama. I'm saying it because the chart says it clearly and specifically. If this eclipse season hit you hard, if you've been feeling the weight of it, I'd love to hear from you. Drop your sign in the comments. I read every single one, and I want to know who's in here tonight. Now, let me talk about the 3 signs who are feeling this reset most directly. And I want to start with the sign that has been through the most to get here. Pisces. This new moon is in your first house, the house of self, identity, and how you move through the world. Of all 12 signs, you are the one standing at the very center of tonight's energy. This isn't about a project or a relationship or a career shift. This is about you. Who you are is resetting. And I want to give you some context for why this moment is so significant, because it hasn't been an easy road to get here. Saturn moved into your sign in March of 2023. For 3 years, Saturn has been asking you, sometimes gently, sometimes not, to get serious about who you are, to build real boundaries, to stop dissolving yourself for the comfort of others. Saturn in your first house is one of the most demanding transits any sign can experience, because it asks you to look at yourself honestly and to do the hard work of becoming more solid, more defined, more real. That transit is now over. Saturn has moved into Aries. That alone would be significant. But it goes further back than that. Neptune has been in your sign since 2012, 14 years. Neptune in your first house is beautiful. In some ways, it makes you deeply intuitive, deeply creative, deeply compassionate, but it also makes everything feel blurry. Your sense of self, your direction, your boundaries, it's like trying to see your reflection in water that never stops moving. Neptune has also now moved into Aries. For the first time in over a decade, your first house is clear. And tonight, this new moon gathers 5 celestial bodies in your sign: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, and the North Node, and says, begin again. Not from the foggy, undefined place you've been living in, from the clear, solid ground that Saturn helped you build, whether you realized it at the time or not. Here's what makes this especially encouraging. Jupiter is now direct in Cancer, which is your 5th house, the house of creativity, joy, romance, and self-expression. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, meaning it's operating at its absolute strongest, and it's forming a trine to this stellium in your sign. That flowing connection between your 1st house and your 5th house means that this new beginning isn't just about survival or rebuilding, it's about enjoying your life again. It's about creating something that brings you genuine pleasure. Jupiter in your 5th house is saying, the next chapter doesn't have to be heavy, it can be beautiful. If you were born between March 16th and 20th, or if you have Pisces rising between 26 and 29 degrees, this new moon touches your chart personally and directly. Set an intention tonight, not about what you want to do, but about who you want to be. That's the Pisces invitation. If you're a Pisces and you felt that if you feel like you've been underwater for a long time and you're finally coming up for air, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments where you are right now. I'm listening. Now let me talk to Cancer. Because if Pisces has been slowly emerging from the fog, Cancer has been holding everything together while waiting for something to shift. And tonight, it shifts. This Pisces stellium lights up your 9th house. The 9th house governs higher learning, travel, expanded horizons, spiritual growth, publishing, teaching, everything that takes you beyond what you already know. This is the adventure house, the house that says your world is supposed to be bigger than the 4 walls you've been living in. And here's what makes this so potent for you specifically. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and growth, is in your sign right now, in your first house. Jupiter in Cancer hasn't happened in 12 years. And Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, which means it's not just visiting, it's thriving. It's operating with a kind of generous strength that it doesn't have in most other signs. And it went direct on March 10th, after months of retrograde. Jupiter direct in your sign after months of retrograde is like a river that's been dammed finally releasing. The water was always there, the current was always there, but now it's actually moving. When the new moon in Pisces trines Jupiter in Cancer, it creates a flowing, harmonious connection between your ninth house and your first house. What that means in plain language is this: who you are and where you're going are finally aligning. The growth isn't theoretical anymore. It's personal, it's real, and it's ready. Now, what might this look like in your daily life? It could show up as an urge to travel somewhere meaningful, not a vacation, but a pilgrimage of sorts, even a small one. It could be signing up for a course or a workshop that's been calling to you for months. It could be starting to write something, or teach something, or share something that you've been carrying quietly for years. It might be reconnecting with a spiritual practice that fell away when life got busy. Or it could simply be the feeling quiet but persistent that you are meant for more than maintaining. Cancer, I know you. You've spent so long being the one who holds it together, the one who makes sure everyone is fed and safe and comfortable. You are extraordinary at that. But this moon isn't asking you to abandon that care, it's asking you to extend it to yourself. The expansion that's available right now isn't optional. Your soul is done playing small, and I know that's terrifying for someone who finds safety in what's familiar. Here's what I want you to watch. Mercury goes direct on March 20th, that clears the mental fog. Venus enters Taurus on March 30th, that grounds and stabilizes everything you set in motion now. The second half of March into early April is your window. If there's a trip to book, a class to sign up for, a conversation to have about what you actually want, the timing is here. Cancer, tell me in the comments, what's the thing you've been wanting to do but haven't given yourself permission for? I have a feeling this moon is about to give you that permission, whether you're ready or not. And finally, Scorpio. If Pisces is the homecoming and Cancer is the expansion, yours is the resurrection. This Pisces stellium activates your fifth house. And I want to be honest with you about why that's significant, because the fifth house is not territory that Scorpio typically gravitates toward. The fifth house governs creativity, romance, self-expression, play, and risk taken from the heart. This is not the house of survival. This is not the house of strategy or control or depth for depth's sake. This is the house of living, of creating something just because it wants to exist, of opening your heart without a contingency plan. Scorpio knows how to endure. You know how to transform. You know how to walk through fire and come out the other side stronger than you went in. What you're less practiced at, and I say this with deep respect, is allowing joy. The fifth house is asking you to create for the sake of creating, to say yes to something purely because it delights you. And that might feel more vulnerable than anything the underworld ever asked of you. Now, here's what the chart is showing me. Pluto, your modern ruling planet, is in early Aquarius right now, forming a sextile to this new moon. That means your ruling planet is in direct supportive conversation with tonight's lunation. And what Pluto in Aquarius is saying is this: the depth work you've been doing, the therapy, the shadow work, the grieving, the shedding, all of it has cleared space, real space. And what wants to fill that space now is not more darkness, it's light. There's another piece I want you to notice. Uranus has been transiting your seventh house from late Taurus for years now, the house of partnerships, committed relationships, and how you relate to others. It's in its final stretch in Taurus before moving to Gemini in late April. Whatever upheaval has happened in your relationships over this period, the unexpected departures, the breakthroughs, the bonds that broke open or broke apart, Uranus is also sextile this new moon. The disruption is becoming creative energy. The chaos is becoming raw material for something new. Scorpio, you've been in the underworld. You know you have. And you've done the work there honestly. More work than most people will ever understand. This new moon is not asking you to go deeper. It's asking you to come up. To let the resurrection actually happen. To stop bracing for the next blow and instead create something beautiful. Paint something. Write something. Say yes to the date. Laugh at something stupid. The fifth house doesn't need your intensity, it needs your tenderness. If you have natal planets between 26 and 29 degrees of Scorpio or 0 to 2 degrees of Sagittarius, you'll feel this most directly. Watch the period between March 18th and the 25th for unexpected creative impulses or romantic openings that arrive from a direction you weren't looking. If that landed for you, if you're ready to stop surviving and start creating again, drop a heart in the comments. That's all. Just a heart. I'll know what it means. Now, for everyone watching, regardless of your sign, let me show you what to do with this energy tonight. First, I want to make sure you know where this new moon falls in your chart, because this matters for all 12 signs. If you know your rising sign, listen for yours. If you're an Aries, Sagittarius, or Capricorn rising, this new moon is touching the more private, interior houses of your chart, your inner world, your home life, your daily routines, and health. The reset happening for you is quiet and personal. If you're a Gemini or Leo rising, this is activating career, public reputation, or deep transformation, the areas of life that involve power and how the world sees you. If you're a Taurus or Aquarius rising, look to your community, your friendships, and your finances. The structures that support your daily life are being seeded with something new. Virgo and Libra rising, this falls on your relationships and your sense of partnership, or your shared resources and intimate bonds. And for Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio rising, we've already covered your houses in depth. Wherever this lands for you, that's where tonight's seed is being planted. Sit with that for a moment and notice what comes up. The new moon is exact tonight at 9:23 Eastern. The most potent window for intention setting is the 24 hours that follow. So tonight through tomorrow evening. And because this is a Pisces new moon, I want to suggest something a little different from the usual intention practice. Don't write down what you want to achieve. Write down how you want to feel. Pisces doesn't respond to goal setting the way Capricorn does. Pisces responds to feeling, to longing, to the quiet whisper of what your soul has been asking for. Write that down. Put it somewhere, you'll see it. And then, and this is the Pisces part, let go of how it happens. Trust that the seed knows what it's becoming, even if you don't. Let me give you some dates to circle. Tonight, March 18th, plant the seed. March 20th, Mercury goes direct and the Sun enters Aries. That's the astrological new year. The fog lifts and forward motion becomes possible again. March 25th, the first quarter moon. This is the first test of whatever intention you set tonight. Notice what surfaces. March 30th. Venus enters Taurus. Grounding energy arrives. Beauty, stability, and a sense of things settling into place. And April 9th, Mercury clears its post-retrograde shadow entirely. Full mental clarity restored. Circle these. They're your milestones for the next 3 weeks. This is also a powerful night for meditation, for journaling, or simply for sitting in quiet and asking yourself what you're ready to release and what you're ready to begin. The stellium in Pisces heightens your intuition tonight. Trust what comes through, even if it doesn't make logical sense right now. Mercury is still retrograde. Logic isn't the language tonight. Feeling is. And if you'd like to work with this energy more intentionally, I put together the New Beginnings Purification Ritual for moments exactly like this one, designed to help you release what the eclipses stirred up and step into this next chapter feeling clear. You'll find it at melihinastro.com, and the link is in the description if you feel called to it. Now, before I let you go tonight, I want to leave you with something. We've been talking about 3 signs: Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, and the specific ways this new moon touches their charts. But I want to zoom out for a moment and speak to something bigger. Because regardless of your sign, you are standing in a threshold tonight. Every single one of us is. This new moon sits at 28 degrees Pisces. That's the very end of the zodiac wheel. In 2 days, the sun crosses into Aries and the entire cycle begins again, a new astrological year, a new set of possibilities, a new chapter that none of us have lived yet. Right now, we are in the space between the exhale and the inhale, between the ending and the beginning, between the person we've been and the person we're becoming. And if you've been feeling like you're between chapters lately, like the old life doesn't quite fit anymore, but the new one hasn't fully arrived, you are not lost. You are exactly where the cosmos has placed you, in the pause, in the sacred, uncomfortable, necessary space between. I want to come back to something I mentioned earlier, the Saturn-Neptune cycle. The last conjunction was in 1989. For most of you watching this tonight, that was a pivotal time in your life. You were in your 20s, your 30s. You were building careers, raising young children, falling in love with the people who would become the architecture of your life, making decisions, some carefully, some recklessly, that shaped the next 30 years. And now, 36 years later, that cycle is complete. Whatever you built from that time, the marriages, the careers, the homes, the identities, the friendships, some of it has lasted beautifully, and some of it has fallen away. And some of it is falling away right now, this very month, and you're not entirely sure what to do with the empty space it's leaving behind. That empty space is where tonight's seed gets planted. You didn't fail at the life you built. I want you to hear that. You didn't fail. You outgrew it. Some of it you outgrew. And that's not a tragedy, it's a graduation. It's what's supposed to happen when a 3-6 year cycle completes. You're not falling apart, you're falling into the next thing. And the next thing hasn't shown itself fully yet because seeds grow in the dark. That's not just a metaphor. That's literally how seeds work. They need darkness, they need moisture, and quiet, and time. They need to not be watched. The new moon tonight is invisible. You can't see it in the sky. And that's the point. The most important beginnings in your life didn't announce themselves with fanfare. They started quietly, in a feeling you almost dismissed, in a conversation you almost didn't have. Tonight is like that. You may not feel the reset happening. You might just feel tired, or emotional, or strangely peaceful. Trust that. The seed doesn't need your anxiety, or your planning, or your control. It needs your trust. I want you to know something, and I mean this sincerely. Whatever you have been through this year, this eclipse season, this Mercury retrograde, this long stretch of feeling like the ground won't stop shifting, you're still here. You showed up tonight. You gave me your time and your attention for the better part of half an hour, and I do not take that lightly. Something is beginning for you. I don't know exactly what it looks like yet. Honestly, neither do you, and that's okay. Pisces doesn't need you to know. Pisces needs you to trust. So tonight, be gentle with yourself. Rest if you need to rest. Cry if you need to cry. Write it down if the words come. And if nothing comes, just breathe and know that the seed has been planted. If this kind of depth is what you've been looking for in your astrology content, I'm here every week. I would love to have you. Come back and tell me when it starts to sprout. I'll be here. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Good night.